here. I want to talk about 6 different ways that you can use wood chips to benefit your garden. The first way is for a deep litter in the chicken coop run. So we live in the west coast of Canada, so we get a tremendous amount of rain here, and the chickens typically land up quite muddy throughout the winter season. So I add a very, very deep layer, probably about 8 inches of wood chips or hog fuel, which is ground up the stumps of trees, so they grind it up, and I use that as a deep mulch layer in the chicken run throughout the rainy season. You combine that with the nitrogen from their poop, and you get some really great compost out of there come springtime. The chickens also love it as well, and it helps keep their eggs cleaner and their feet healthy. This is the mulch that I use, and it's called hog fuel, and you'll notice that it's got a whole bunch of different size wood particles in here. So some of it is really fine, powdery almost, and then you get some thicker chunks like this that will take a considerable time to break down. So I layer that into the chicken coop in the fall for the winter months. This powdery stuff will break down, within a few months, and then the larger stuff will last a little bit longer. The second way that I use it is for weed suppression, and it does an amazing job at suppressing the weeds. So if you just want to suppress them, if you do 2 or 3 inches of the bark mulch, that will do the job. If you want to kill off weeds, then adding 6 to 8 inches will kill off the weeds. So if you've got some heavy grasses or things like that you want to kill off, then put a much deeper layer on there. Here you can see we added it to the raspberry patch. This is a new raspberry patch here, and this is deeper in the middle and then a lighter layer right underneath the actual raspberry plants, so we won't get any weeds popping up through the winter months, and will provide some nutrients to those raspberries as well. So this area here, I've added it to that 6 to 8 inches deep in this area to act as to kill the weeds that are growing along the fence line here and with this massive laurel hedge. So it's a really deep layer. Third reason that wood chips are beneficial to your garden are for their nutrient value. So when you spread wood chips around your garden, they are composed primarily of carbon. So when you spread them around, mycelium comes in to do its job. So mycelium is the digestive tract of the forest. So it breaks down those wood chips, the smaller and the larger particles, just like it would in the forest. If you go for a walk in the forest, you see it doing its magic there. So mycelium is this white fungi that forms a webbing through the soil, and you can tell that it's there by pulling back a layer of the wood chips and noticing sort of this white mat under there, and that's a really good thing for you to find. And it looks like this is mycelium. So I've just pulled this layer back. I had wood chips in here for about 2 years ago. I put them, so you can see this white substance here. That is the mycelium. So I've just added some additional layer of wood chips on here to provide some weed suppression and to build up the health of the soil. But this is what you're looking for in here. So if you got this white stuff here, this is the root system of fungi, and the fruit is actually mushrooms. So if you see mushrooms popping up in your soil or around your wood chips, that's a good thing. So don't be worried about those. So mycelium will entangle the roots of the plants, and because it can't photosynthesize because it's a fungi, it draws on the nutrients of the sugars of the plant. So in turn for that, it gives the plant back nitrogen and phosphorus, which are essential for plant health. So we want to see that mycelium grow, and providing a nice layer of wood chips around our plants and under our fruit trees is extremely beneficial to help create a nice balanced soil. When you get wood chips as well, you want to get chips that are arborist chips. So we want multiple sizes in your wood as well. You want some bark and some of the inner wood, and from a multiple of tree species would be ideal. So because it's different size particles, they're going to break down at different rates and provide some benefit to your plants over 2 to 3 years. So those larger chunks of wood are going to take a few years to break down, whereas the smaller ones are going to break down 6 months to a year, depending on the climate that you live. The wetter your climate, the faster the breakdown. So there's a myth going around that that if you add wood chips onto your garden, that you're going to rob your plants of nitrogen. That has proven not to be the case. So it will on the very, very surface, I should clarify. So where the wood chips touch the surface of the soil, as it's decomposing, it does draw on that nitrogen. However, because your plants are further down into the soil, where the wood chips aren't making contact, then it's not robbing your plants of the nitrogen. And it doesn't take very long for those wood chips to start breaking down, and then that process reverses where it's actually feeding nitrogen back into the soil. So don't worry about it depleting the nitrogen in your soil, but you do need to make sure that you're laying those wood chips on top as a mulch, not digging them into the soil. So if you do dig them into the soil, then you're going to have a bit of a problem because it will deplete the nitrogen wherever they're in contact. So where you can get wood chips, a lot of times arborists are looking for places to drop their wood chips. I haven't had a whole ton of luck. Occasionally, every few years, I'll luck out and get a drop of wood chips here, and you know, I'm always very grateful for that. However, it's really hit and miss. So what I have done is, I live on the west coast, so we are unfortunately doing a lot of logging here. So getting hog fuel is something that is readily available, and it is for multiple tree species. So fir, pine, spruce, occasionally some arbutus in there. So the load that I just recently got for 35 cubic yards, was $200 including delivery. So well worth it, and lots of work for me moving it around in the yard. So it's a good workout. In the US, you can also access a website called Chip Drop, and I guess that's a registry where you can go on there, and arborists then know that they can drop wood chips at your home or at your property. So that's worth checking out if you're in the US. We found this useful, and again, to summarize, 6 basic ways that you can use wood chips in your yard. Deep bedding for your chicken run to reduce the mud and maintain your chicken's health through the winter. Weed suppression, adding nutrients back into your soil, moisture retention, and reducing soil erosion, and moderating the soil temperature. So invest in some wood chips and get your wheelbarrow out. Take care.